What did it look like out the window from the booth at Talladega?
Well, before I talk about the fantastic race that we saw, which was unbelievable, let me tell you how good these people at MRN are. Unbelievable the job they do. You know, I've listened to it all my life, but to be a part of that broadcast and see how they maneuver through this entire race lap after lap and do it seamlessly it was a pleasure to be a part of it. A lot of fun to do, but we had a fantastic race to call. These drivers, all 40 of them, unbelievable job they did all day.
I think that's the thing. We as fans, right, it's great to watch all that action, close action, 3 wide, 4 wide, flips, all that. But when you're driving them, yeah, this stuff's hard. I mean, I remember you and I raced with the wickers on the roof and on the deck lid, on the spoiler rather, and man, it got your attention. And you know, you're sitting here watching this, you have to remember they're going over 200 miles an hour. And the drivers, you know, you never would know it. You would never know they were driving dangerous race cars. They just went after it. It was fun to watch.
Well, I've been wrong a lot in my career, and I was wrong again on Sunday. I've been very vocal. I did not enjoy the racing with the wicker bills on the roof back when that happened, and I was afraid this would look something like that. It was anything but. While I had the big closing rates, it was a great balance of speed with those closing rates. And I think the cars actually drove bad enough at times that the best cars matriculated to the front, the best driving cars, the best drivers. I was thoroughly entertained. But we had a conversation. Every Monday we talk about the turning point. Well, what was the turning point in Talladega? Because you could do an hour show over just the chaos we saw there. But in my mind, guys, it all comes down to the red flag at the end, that final restart, who made the right moves. And funny enough, we caught a couple Chevy drivers talking during that red flag about how they were planning on trying to win the race.
All right, Silas, go tell stories, ask about favorite colors. See what everybody wants to do here. Okay, here's what Kurt said. 18 hasn't been very strong, and he feels if the 22 and 17 get out, we let the one in, and then we got all the Chevrolets to drive around the 17 and 22. Got the opportunity, and we can get him in, we can get him in, for sure. I mean, we can get him down and get going, we'll do it.
Small hole right there, you can slide in. Small hole, you're good. You're good. We got numbers on the 18 now.
Kurt's in, here we go.
Hey, one went to the bottom of 17. One went to the bottom of 17. One's got all the help here. One back coming to you. Make it wide. Outside, outside. He's there.
And Kurt now right up behind Joey Logano. All kinds of room down low. Here comes Chase Elliott. The battle for the lead is on.
I thought the one behind me would want to race for the win and not just fall in line behind Fords and in front of Chevrolets, and he'd go with us a little bit there. But team orders prevailed, I guess.
I thought I had to make that block on Kurt at the end, and I successfully made that block, but I couldn't block both. And when I came back down, the 9 was already there. So, and then they were teammates, and they were pretty selfless towards each other, and they kept pushing each other. And that was why we finished 5th instead of 1st, where we were most of the race.
I was really trying to stay with him and trying to, you know, stay the course on all that and be, you know, be a best friend I could be, you know, at that point in time. And he went to make a move on Joey, and honestly, I couldn't get up there to push him fast enough. And if I did, somebody else behind me probably wasn't going to do the same. At some point, that was gonna hurt.
I got bottled up behind Logano. I didn't make the right move to get out of that area quick enough and get back in front of Chase.
Pick one, inside or outside. They're both Chevys, and even if I blocked the 9 and stayed on the bottom with those 2 teammates behind me, they were probably going to form a run and stay behind each other to pass me. I was pretty much a sitting duck. I think I was kind of in trouble any way it went at the end of that race, but we gave it our best shot.
You can see what you call that frustration, disappointment out of the 4th place finisher, Joey Logano. Jeff, I've been a part of a lot of plate races and tried to help orchestrate plans. They never seem to work out. How did this plan seem to line up for the Chevy cars, and namely at the end, Chase Elliott?
Well, I think the commitment from Chase Elliott to let Kurt down. I mean, that took a tremendous amount of commitment. You're giving up track position. You're getting yourself a car further behind. So we go back and watch this and see how all this played out. Kurt did he got down right here. Chase gave him room, and there he goes. Now they're in position. Now, if I'm Chase Elliott, I'd have been nervous. That actually hurt me. That got me further behind than I'd wanted to be, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, it sure showed that trophies are thicker than blood right there at the beginning of that. But Kurt Busch did a great job of getting down in there. But right here's where it really starts. You can see Kurt Busch go to the very bottom and has a run here on the inside. So a little controversy, I guess. He is obviously below the yellow line at this particular point. But I don't know your opinion as far as Stenhouse gave a little bit of a room, and then The one car was down below, but no call.
Well, once they eliminate the 17, then it's all eyes forward on the 22. And how about this run, Jeff? It continues into turn 3.
Well, Chase Elliott just pushing the 1, and there's Kurt right there. According to Kyle, that was Kurt staying in line, not wanting to win. But it looks to me like he's trying pretty hard to win. Made a move. Logano made an extremely aggressive block. All you heard before the race is that those kind of blocks will get you wrecked. Logano made a huge block. Really, I don't think he had a choice. He had to block something. He had to make a choice. He may have chosen the wrong line, but that was a difficult decision.
Well, Logano's so good at blocking, they had to try to pass him from 3rd, and that's what Chase Elliott did. And not to take anything away from Chase, but he really just stayed in line, and it worked out. The lead moved up the racetrack. He got it. But at this point, DJ, I wasn't sure this thing was over. While there were Chevrolets lined up in the bottom, the Fords were so fast. You see Joey Logano kind of pulling that top lane. You see Eric Almirola in the distance. You see that yellow Penske car falling back. But if they ever get organized, I thought there would be a run.
Yeah, the thing to me was, as I watched this race all day, the Fords were so fast that they couldn't get help from a Toyota or from a Chevrolet because they couldn't catch them. They couldn't get to their bumper to really push them.
Yeah, right there, we talk about teamwork, the Chevys, how much they really did work together. I mean, right there, about a lap ago, if I was Alex Bowman, I'm jumping the outside. I got Logano behind me. I'm going to win the race. And maybe that talk, before the race, that prevented Alex Bowman doing it. Now, Logano's drawn further back, but you could have had a pusher in Logano maybe pushing you to the lead.
Yeah, and this is still with 2 laps to go. That's more than enough time at Talladega. Heck, all day long, we saw a guy from 10th to 1st in just a couple laps. I haven't given up on Joey Logano. I wonder how much Kurt Busch is trying not to help him, because he's kind of separated the 2 Fords of the 10 and the 22. I'm sure he would push him if he could, but the Chevy cars, to your point, how organized? They're not even looking at a line at this point.
Well, and you have to remember at a plate race, when you're coming to 1 to go, like you're coming right now, you have to assume that there's going to be a wreck.
Yes.
So if you're Alex Bowman, you can't, if the first chance you have to make a move, from the time you get to about right here, you can't wait to turn 4 on the white, because almost every race on a plate we see a wreck.
And then right here, you see Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the blue car at the top of the screen. I think he has a flat tire. It looks like a little wiggle, hard impact into the wall. And then this really comes to the conversation of how NASCAR should manage it. In this instance, they're holding the yellow, waiting to see where the 17 ends up. The field continues to race through 3 and 4. 1 and 2.
Yeah, and we get to this point, and I was looking right at Stenhouse, knowing that they could not race back there. When were they going to make this move? And then this happens. David Reagan gets a little bit loose, gets into William Byron, and then takes out, and we saw the 42 flipping. And so that's whenever the caution came out. They made the right call as far as, the lineup and who was in front and all of that. But they were going to have to throw this caution. It was just a matter of seeing, okay, can the 17 move, and is the track clear enough for them to come back? I applaud NASCAR. They've been pretty consistent at making this happen, or trying to make it happen. They could have immediately thrown that caution because the lead cars had just gone across the start-finish line when Stenhouse wrecked and saw that he wasn't going to go, and there would have been no race back to it. But if there's any chance, NASCAR was trying to give the drivers that opportunity.
So I think a couple things. First of all, Chase Elliott did a nice job. Chevy teammates seemed to work together, and they got the win. Talking about the 17 spin and then the 42. Thankfully, Kyle Larson got out after a big ride. We're going to talk about that car and how it got airborne a little later in the show. But, Jeff, I think it's 2 schools of thought. Up until the last lap, there's no doubt in my mind when that 17 hits the wall, it's an automatic yellow.
Yeah.
But NASCAR, to your point, Dale, has been consistent where they officiate the last lap differently. They let the wreck happen, and as long as they don't feel there's an injury potential wreck, they take a minute. They step back. They say, okay, well, where's the 17? Where's this? I don't even think they're looking at the leader. They're just trying to decide if they can race back or not. That racing back kind of allowed the wreck on the backstretch to happen. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the delayed yellow because I feel they're doing it in the best interest of the fan to try to finish the race. Where do you stand on that?
I agree with you 100%. I think that the fans deserve to see this race go as long as it could have. They could have thrown the caution as soon as the 17 spun. Race would have been over. Why do that? Let it play out. Maybe the 17 gets rolling. Yep. You have that racetrack at a 2.5-mile racetrack. You have enough time to analyze, look out the window, see exactly what's going on, make that call. You can always call the caution later. I think it's 100% the right thing to do. Watching it live, I thought that the minute I saw Larson, just as he went out of frame, I saw him get in the air. Right after that, the caution came out. I thought they threw the caution because of needing to get to him.
Sure. Right.
But O'Donnell said later, no,
Yeah,
we were going to throw the caution because of the debris and the 17. You can see right here, there's the debris. But I like the fact that they let it play out. I think when you throw that caution, that's difficult. And NASCAR's by giving the fans a chance to see the end of the race happen, they've set themselves up for failure, right? Because
everybody's going to judge it.
Yes, because if the 88 and the 24 are side by side, and the minute the 24 edges ahead, they wanted to do it so Chase Elliott could win. They're going to catch that.
Yeah.
But they did the right thing by giving the fans as much racing as they could possibly want.
I think what impresses me even more is, remember, there's been changes, right? David Hoots is no longer in the tower. There's a new race director. There's a new head of the Cup Series. Steve O'Donnell's up there as well. And I think, so I've been fortunate enough to watch some races up there. And the majority of the race director makes the calls, right? But in that situation, as you mentioned, 2.66 miles, for over 40 seconds, they know they have. I like the fact that I feel comfortable today saying that's consistent. So even with a new race director, I'm not sure if he asked O'Donnell, if they got two opinions. I'm not sure how it went down, but I felt like I can lean on other instances where they took the time. In my heart of hearts, they're not looking out the window seeing who's leading the race.
No.
They're looking down to try to see if this was. What did Ricky Stenhouse say? He goes, I stayed buckled in because I want him to come back to the line, but even he knew, you're too close to the start.
It was way too close standing there looking at that, knowing that. And NASCAR is not looking, saying, okay, who's in the lead right now? When do we throw this? They see the leaders and where they may be on the racetrack and making an informed decision at that particular time as to whether we can let them come back around here. And I appreciate that, because you sat there all day long. These fans have sat there and they want to see this finish come down to that start-finish line that is different than any other track that you have and creates great finishes. But yesterday, it just wasn't possible to make that happen.
Well, one thing I do want to say is that, this same thing is going to happen at Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
And some fans are going to say, well, at Talladega, you did this.
Yeah, right. 22-second laps.
Some of the consistency means things are going to have to be inconsistent,
right,
meaning you got to be consistent for a particular type of racetrack. Yeah. You can't call Richmond the same way you call Talladega. No. If you're at Talladega, call it like you're at Talladega, not like you're at Richmond.
Well, the difference is you go to a downforce track, even if it's big like Indy, and you say, well, Talladega's big, the field's spread out. Talladega, no one else was coming.
Right.
The field is on the backstretch.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.